If you like to fish offshore, then listen up. Tonight's species is famous for their long runs of screaming drag, as well as their blue stripes. They're also unbelievably good to eat, and in some parts of Florida, they get over 100 pounds. Tonight, it's all about the Wahoo here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Welcome back to the Florida Insider Fishing Report. I'm Captain Rick Murphy, and guess who's back?
Brie's back in the studio. Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be back. And Rick, it looks like everything has been running smoothly since I've been gone.
A little bit smooth.
A little bit? It's all right. Well, I'm going to be back, and I actually brought some show and tell photos from my new little man.
Well, let's look.
Mr. Leonardo Michael Del Santo. He is in this world. He is 2 weeks now, and he's a baby in a bucket, and of course, a baby on a dock. Got to put him on a dock.
Yeah, man.
I know.
That's where we do our deal.
But, you know, I'm pretty cheesy when it comes to that sort of stuff.
Yes, you won. You're Swiss cheese.
Yeah, something like that. I'm actually Brie cheese, but
Brie cheese.
Swiss works.
Okay.
But you know, I've missed everybody, including our Mr. Dave Farrell at the workbench. Dave,
well, we did miss you a lot. He's playing it off, but yeah, he was running around here with his chicken like, you know, that chicken with a head cut off thing.
Yeah,
and Dave is really being nice to keep his job. But
yeah.
It was a train wreck around here.
It?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. You got job security left.
Yes. All right. Well, we have a lot of Wahoo talking to do, so let's high speed it on up to the Garmin Panhandle region and see what tips Captain Pat Deneen has for us. Go for it, Pat.
Hey, Brie, first off, congratulations and welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah, but Wahoos are caught off the Panhandle May through November. The northern Gulf gets a really good late winter Wahoo bite to the west on the rigs outside the river in 200 to 500 foot of water. And the abundance of Wahoo every year varies, you know, season to season. And this season has been a really good one for Wahoos all summer long. They're being caught by crews pulling high-speed lures, heading offshore and back again to the port, you know, at the end of the day. But also, you know, pulling lures between the bottom spots. The guys that are diligently keeping baits in the water are definitely catching some Wahoos. But also crews trolling specifically for pelagics. They should have a trembler or a ballyhoo sea witch combo rigged on a wire, pulled behind a trolling lead to specifically entice a Wahoo. September and October are great months to get just beyond the edge in 200 to 300 foot of water. High-speed troll of a spread targeting Wahoo. The elbow, the nipple, the knuckle are all good areas to begin your search. And we did get some pretty good Wahoos up here. The biggest one we caught out of Destin was 87 pounds. Hooked up charters, caught one this summer out of Destin that was just over 100 pounds. And then there's a photo sent in by Captain Andrew Dover, better known as Grasshopper. I think Rick's met Grasshopper before. His boat is a Muscle Memories, and that's a 76-pound hoo. They caught just a couple weeks ago out of Destin. So it has been a good summer for the Wahoos.
Really nice. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. Hey, Rick, this past week, guys heading offshore to the spur have also been having some really good dolphin fishing. You know, of course, dolphin fishing, you want to look for float and stuff. And with the past week's weather, there surely could be some hurricane debris floating around out there. But also the Okaloosa fads have been very consistent. You know where they are, and they're holding fish. Troll small lures, feathers, or dressed or naked ballyhoos, and also have some spinning rods ready. They're rigged with jigs or live bait hooks on a 5/0 or 6/0 or 50-pound or 60-pound leaders. Often when you find the right spot, like a floater holding some fish, it's best just to pull in your spread of trolling baits, break up the spinning rods, and go to war on them. Dolphins are running from small chickens or peanuts to full-blown gaffers. I mean, that's been a pretty consistent bite throughout the Panhandle. And then moving inshore, the tripletail fishing over in Appalachian Coal has been really consistent. Anglers are finding them throughout the bay, mostly on floating structures, you know, like navigational markers or crab trap floats, but also along the beaches of St. Vincent Island, some free swimmers or some fish, you know, hanging out with some seaweed or whatever's floating around out there. On the outgoing tide, you know, if you can find that tide line and cruise along it looking for either swimming fish or floating debris that's caught in that tide line, it's a great place to find the triple tails. A good pair of sunglasses like the Bahio amber lenses goes a long ways in spotting the fish, because if you can't catch them if you can't find them. Use a popping cork, 2 foot of 40-pound leader and a strong 2 to 3/0 circle hook baited with a live shrimp, a small pogie, or some other small minnow. Triple tails can run up to and over 20 pounds, but 5 to 8 pounders are definitely more common. And then finally, this is the time of year within the bays, we get some really big Jack Crevalles. They're caught in, all the Panhandle bays. Just by chance, while you're out there fishing, you may find a school of jacks pushing down the shoreline, tearing up some mullet and everything else in their path. And on calm, still days, you can easily see them from a distance, and sometimes you hear them before you see them. So have a medium or heavy spinning rod rigged with a topwater bait for those chance encounters. But if you want to target them, head to the big bridges and either slow troll live baits or anchor up and chum. The Hathaway and Tyndall bridges in Panama City, the 3 Mile Bridge in Pensacola, and locally for me, the Mid-Bay Bridge or the Target Ship on the north side of Chattahoochee Bay are all great spots. Throw the net, fill up a cooler with dead pogies, keeping some alive in the live well, anchor up current, put some baits out and start chunking with the dead baits. And as long as you have some current, it usually doesn't take long for the jacks to find you. This time of year, the bay jacks are running 30 to 40 pounds, and we've been catching them pretty regularly the last several days.
Nice, Pat. Thank you. Great report. Appreciate you getting us started. The blue water outrigger hotspots from the Panhandle are inshore mangrove snappers on the deeper structure in any of the bays using small live baits, light leaders, and small hooks. And then offshore, DeSoto Canyon and the Spur for dolphin, wahoo, and billfish, particularly the white marlin trolling ballyhoos, Brie.
All right, Rick, the best is yet to come in our Alvey Reels Northeast region when it comes to catching up to your wahoo dinner. So Captain Derringer, give us the latest and the greatest.
That's right, Brie. Hey, congratulations on Leo the Lunker.
Leo the
right?
Lunker. He was huge.
I heard that's what you named
He was
him.
a big boy.
That was
Big
Tommy.
boy.
Tommy came up with that. Good one,
She
Tommy.
gave you the credit.
I did.
All right, well, congratulations. Yeah, we have a really awesome wahoo fishery here on the Alvey Sidecast Reels Northeast region. Fishing for wahoo, it's a pretty big deal for us. And although right now it's not the best time of year to target them, you can catch them year round. Now, probably the best time to catch wahoo in my region is going to be during the cooler months from about December through March. Now, most anglers are going to troll for wahoo starting in about 140 feet, and then they're going to work on out to the ledge. You're going to be looking for a few things while you're out there. One is going to be concentrations of bait, especially near or on top of any kind of structure, and any kind of color change. Now, if you find a good hard edge, that change, you're going to want to fish it hard because those the wahoo really like that color change. Now, most anglers are going to troll a skirted ballyhoo or a variety of lures like an islander, a black bart, or even one of, Rick and I's buddy, Gibby. He's got a new lure company called Lure 'em In. Those are really good too. Now, you can troll ballyhoo and those lures at about 8 to 10 knots, but there's a lot of anglers, and especially the tournament guys, that are in the region, they like to high-speed troll as well. Now, those guys are going to pull a lure behind trolling leads at about 15 to 18 knots, which sounds crazy to me, and they're typically going to start in a little closer, like 120 feet, and then work their way out to the ledge. Now, not very many people target wahoo this time of year, but sometimes the guys trolling for kingfish in real close to the beach, they're going to get one to bite. I've even seen a few big ones caught in as close as 9 Mile Reef out of St. Augustine, but that's a pretty rare occurrence. Now, I got a photo here. This is Dalton Shank and Ricky Pupor with a couple of absolute monster wahoo they caught from earlier this year. Those fish weighed in at 96 pounds and 101 pounds, and they caught them within about 15 minutes of each other. So
I'm crying.
good job on those fish.
Good job, guys.
Yeah. Those are absolute monsters. It's a lot of sushi right there.
yeah.
It is.
Now, so staying offshore, I spoke to Captain Jimmy Laidler from thelegendfishing.com. He tells me, after that northeast wind that we had last week, the grouper are going to start to move down the coast from the Carolinas back into our region. Captain Jimmy said that he's going to start to target small ledges and structures starting right about this time of year for some of those bigger grouper. Now, he said they're going to stay out a little deeper, probably in that 140 plus foot range. Now, when we get another couple of days of northeast wind, hopefully it'll cool things off a little bit, and it's really going to kick things into high gear for those grouper. Jimmy also said look for the triggerfish to start spawning around that same time. And guys, it sounds like a good time to book a trip. Those are two of my favorite fish to eat. Now, moving inshore, I'm really excited. Really excited for the next few days. We've got some flood tides happening throughout the region. The redfish are going to be up in the grass looking for a crab to get a little snack on. Not only is the tide going to really flood, but it's going to happen about midday, which is going to give us some really good light to see those fish moving through the grass. The Wahoo sunglasses are going to help with that as well. Now, although it helps, you don't really need a poling skiff to access some good flood tide areas. If you want to, go to one of your local tackle shops, stop in at the fly shop at Strike Zone. Those guys are going to steer you in the right direction and find some spots you can get to on foot. Now, I like to get to my spot before the tide completely floods in, so you can follow the tide up onto the flat. You're going to look for tailing fish, backing fish, and then redfish slurping crabs off the surface. If you're tossing a lure, I like to use the Saltwater Assassin Elite Shiner. You pair that thing up with a weedless hook like Rick's got there. You know what? That's going to be completely weedless. It's going to slide really easy through that Spartina grass. Now, it's also a great time to bust out the fly rod. You can tie or buy flies that look exactly like those little marsh crabs that those redfish are looking for. So speaking of the fly rod, I got another picture here. This is my man David Gorley with a really nice redfish that he caught with me on the long rod recently in St. Augustine. Now, also inshore, guys, as we get closer to fall, the flounder fishing, it's only going to get better, and it's been pretty solid this week. I spoke to my brother, Captain Todd Derringer. He had 2 trips this week with over 20 flounder on each trip, mostly caught on Saltwater Assassin paddle tails, which is really cool. Now, the schools of small mullet are thick right now, and the flounder are feeding on those guys along the grass lines at high tide, and then in the creek holes and the creek mouths at low tide or as the tide's coming out. And I spoke to Captain Colin Phillips. He's also been catching good numbers and some really big flounder around Mayport and up the St. Johns River. Again, he's looking for concentrations of bait, and he's fishing on the bottom around docks and riprap with one of those live finger mullet. And I've got one last picture here. Captain Colin Phillips sent me this picture of his buddy Riley Dodd with a couple of doormats, man. You can wipe your feet on those suckers. They caught them up there right near Mayport.
I just can't even with your region. It's amazing. The fish that come out of the Alvey reels.
Tommy, can I just move there? Is that all right?
Yeah.
You have a space for me?
I think we got a
He's
space.
got room. He's got 3 little girls. He would probably welcome you up there.
I got the boat garage here. Move in the boat garage.
Perfect. All right. Sign me up. But you know what? In the meantime, I got to go ahead and get to the strike zone hotspots from the Northeast region. He says inshore redfish in the flooded grass. Look for tailing, backing, and slurping redfish in the Spartina. And then offshore, groupers and triggerfish in 140 feet and out deeper.
I'm just still shocked between the Wahoo and
I know, everything's mega size. Even our guide, our reporter from there.
Well,
he's a monster too. Oh.
Coming up, we're checking in with our R&R Tackle Southeast Region Captain and seeing what Wahoo lessons Dave has prepared for us at the Academy Sports and Outdoors, rigs and techniques at the CCA Workbench. Hi, Dave.
I'm stealing money again. We got we got Steve Grant here. He's going to tell us all about high-speed Wahoo fishing.
Oh,
trolling
special
fast.
guest. Loving it. We'll be back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Contender Boats, always in the game. Fenwick. SiriusXM Marine. Weather, fishing mapping, entertainment. Penn. Let the battle begin. Stiffy. Innovators in shallow water performance. And Daiquiri Deck. Sarasota's favorite place to meet.
All right, we're here at the CCA Workbench for the Academy Sports and Outdoors rigs and techniques. And Steve Grant from Diamond Fishing Products is here to tell us all about high-speed trolling for Wahoos.
All right.
You know, we love to catch Wahoos, like everybody's been saying. They're awesome to eat, but they come with these razor-sharp teeth and incredible speed, and that's why we have to troll fast for them, right? To get them, to get their attention. So what is fast when we're talking about trolling fast?
Well, when people ask me how fast you need to go high-speed fishing, I usually say faster than 10 knots. You know, because you can troll ballyhoo 7, 8, 9 up to 10. Yeah. Faster than 10, they start to fall apart, and that's when the plastics kind of come into play. So there's no, and as far as a top speed, I don't really think there is one. If you can keep the lure in the water and keep it looking good, I think you'd still catch one.
Well, I think they are the fastest fish in the ocean, and I know that you can get it. We've gotten marlin bites at 18 knots, so I imagine a wahoo can swim faster than that if you wanted to.
For sure.
So, what are we trying to do with the rod and reel setup and all that?
All right. Well, I got one of my absolute favorite rod and reels here for wahoo fishing. For high speed fishing, I'm gonna recommend at least a 50 wide.
You need a lot of line.
Well, you need a lot of line, and you need to have enough drag on the reel to be able to keep the lead and the lure all intact at that high speed, okay?
Right.
So what I have here, this is the nice custom rod, and one of my absolute favorite reels, a Penn 70, okay? It's a little bit larger than a 50, but not quite as big and bulky as an 80.
You're not fighting the reel when you got the 70.
Exactly. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. And something else I really like for high speeding especially is bent butt rods. Okay.
Right.
So the bent butt rods, they lower the tips at the back of the boat, lowering the angle of attack, so you get a little bit more depth out of the lure. Also, when the fish strikes, it comes directly off the drag, so you get a better hook set instead of the rod, taking quite a bit of a bend.
Right.
So just another thing there. As far as the line on it, you can use a lot. A lot of people use mono. I'm a big braid guy, okay? Now, I like using hollow core because of all the different things you can use with it, okay? So this one here is full of 150-pound hollow core, and I like to put in a 50-foot top shot of fluorocarbon. Okay, it's just kind of one of those things that makes me feel better, and it gives me a little bit of additional stretch when we do have a big bite.
Because braid doesn't stretch much.
Doesn't stretch at all.
Fluorocarbon doesn't stretch much.
Not much.
And then I guess that's where the shock leaders come in.
Shock leaders come in. Okay, so it is kind of a whole system coming from the tip of the rod. We go to the lead, and then we have a shock leader ranging from 2 to 400-pound test, and then we go all the way to the lure. Now you will see my lures. I like to fish a double hook rig.
Right.
Okay, the more hooks I can have in the water, the better. Once again, this is one of our favorite fish to catch and eat, so anything I can do to try to get a chance of hooking that fish, we're gonna try to do it. Yeah. As far as lure selection goes, there's a lot of things out there. Obviously, we make our own. We always try to say dark and light, so use some dark colors and some light colors. Try to mix it up a little bit. And as far as spacing them out, that's where we use different size trolling leads, okay, and we put these different lures out at different distances behind the boat. So how you can find out how far that is with our new two color here. It changes every 50 feet. Okay,
so you got 50 feet of blue, 50 feet of silver.
I space my lures 50 feet apart. Okay, so now you can just kind of every color change. You can leave it right there, and now your lures. You don't want them to get tangled because each one of these is about $100.
Right.
So we don't want to get them tangled.
Now, I see that they're big and heavy. Like, what's the weight factor here?
Well, all these right here are right at about a pound, okay? Mm-hmm. So you can use a little bit heavier. I like using mine about a pound. If you get too big of a lure, sometimes when they get behind the boat and they start shaking their head, they'll pull the hook right out.
Right.
So I like to try to keep my heads around a pound if possible.
So when you're out there trolling all this big stuff around, going pretty quickly, what are the kind of places where you want to start and target?
Well, we like, obviously, bottom structure is key, and water temperature and water color. See, Wahoo like to be right where it turns green to blue.
Yeah, they
do.
So
right in that inshore color break, if we can find that, that's where we're going to spend almost all of our time.
Well, we say there are no fences in the ocean, but that's really a lie, because that color change is a nice little fence, temperature and color. And that stacks the bait, and that's why the Wahoos are there.
And when you can get the temperature and the color on top of like a piece of bottom structure, everything kind of works together. And
that's what it's the gold time.
Turns into a good day usually.
All right, well, man, thanks a lot.
Hey,
I appreciate
you guys having me.
There you go.
Thank you, guys. Good job, Steve. Brie, Steve, before the show started, actually showed us how to splice the hollow core with the fluorocarbon leader, and you can go to our YouTube channel, Captain Rick Murphy YouTube channel, and see that. It'll probably be up in a week.
That's going to be some important information, guys.
Go check it out, guys.
All right, we're keeping an eye out for some full moons in our future in our Taco Southeast region, and Captain Jimbo Thomas is telling us why. Let's catch some Wahoo, Jimbo.
Hello, Brie. Welcome back, and hello to everybody else in the studio. Yep, Wahoo are considered a prize catch and are said to be one of the fastest fish in the ocean. They can be found year-round. One of the best times to target Wahoos is around the full moons of August, September, and October. Now, there's a couple of ways to go about catching Wahoo. One of the most productive tactics is to fast troll weighted lures. You can go anywhere from 10 to 15 knots or even faster, or you can slow down to 6 to 8 knots and fish a 3.5 or number 4 drone spoon or a sea witch and bonita strip combo, or even a ballyhoo and a feather, and you want to fish that behind a wireline outfit or behind a number 2 or 3 or even number 4 planer. So you want to get that bait down deep. Wahoo also love deep baits fished under the kite and on flat lines, live baits that is. And most bites are going to come off of big live baits like a big live Speedo, a goggle eye, a blue runner. Those are all great bait choices. And with the big baits, not a bad idea to use a stinger hook. Now, Wahoo also like to hang around any floating debris, much like dolphin do. They can be caught by trolling deep diving lures, or you can drop a live bait or even a jig underneath or around those floaters. And you definitely want to use a piece of wire leader since those Wahoo have razor sharp teeth. And it seems like if you have one rod out with mono leader and you got all the other ones with wire, that fish is going to eat the one without wire leader. Never fails. But just like most of our offshore fish, you want to look for blue water, current changes, color changes, and north current anywhere in the 100 to 500 foot range. Got a photo here. This is Emily Scott with her very first Wahoo. She caught this trolling in 280 feet of water off Key Biscayne on her Pathfinder boat. Now, staying offshore, yeah, they catch them on a bay boat when this flat, calm weather.
That's it.
Now, the weather has been nice, making it easy to get offshore, so there's been quite a few swordfish caught in the last week. The swords have been anywhere up to 400 pounds, I've heard of them caught. They've been caught throughout the region, both in the daytime and the nighttime, but it seems like more people are fishing in the daytime. Why go out at night when you get to catch them in the daytime? In the daytime, the fish are being caught near the bottom in 1,500 to 2,000 feet of water using squid, bonita strip, and dolphin bellies. And from my experience with swords, they're not real picky eaters, so just about any bait will get bites. Now, when you're out there in the daytime, it's always a good idea to put a couple of live or rigged baits out on the surface in case you got any mahi swimming by. Then at night, those swords come up to the surface to feed. They're being caught in that same 1,400 to 2,000 foot range using rigged squid, live blue runners, and Speedos. And in the daytime, we're only fishing one rod on the bottom. But at night, you can fish a spread of bait staggered at different depths, anywhere from the surface on down to 400 or 500 feet. Now, moving inshore, snook season opened last week, and they are being caught in the inlets and off the oceanside beaches throughout the whole region. Off the beaches, look for the snook cruising the troughs that run parallel to the beach early in the mornings or late in the afternoons into the evenings. These snook can be sight fished with live baits, jerk baits, soft plastics, and even fly tackle. Then any areas that have bait activity, those are going to be the most productive. So look for any birds, bait flipping, that's where those snook are going to be. In the inlets, early mornings, then late afternoons into the evenings have been the best on the outgoing tide. You want to fish with live pinfish, herrings, croakers, fish them next to the bottom using a Jupiter rig. Or if you don't have any live bait, you can try bouncing 1 to 2 ounce jigs or soft plastics along the bottom, or even trolling deep diving lures. Then we have some really good bonefish on the flats of South Biscayne Bay. The bonefishing has been best first thing in the morning before the water gets too warm. And on the outside flats from Ragged Key, South Angelfish Creek, tail and fish have been right up along the shoreline early in the mornings on the higher stages of the tide. Then the inside flats from Caesars Creek to Broad Creek have also been holding schools of bonefish. They can be found mudding and tailing on the flats that have good tidal flow. And most of the fish are being caught on small live crabs, but decent sized live shrimp will work, along with quarter-ounce pink or brown skimmer jigs and crab pattern flies.
All right, Jimbo, thank you so much. Great report from the R&R Southeast region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots. Captain Jimbo says inshore, look for the snook in all the inlets and off the beaches in the early morning and evening, fishing with both live and artificial baits. And then offshore, drop squid or bonitas near the bottom, 1,800 to 2,000 feet of water for daytime swordfish. You can also put out a couple live and rigged baits on the surface for any mahi that might be swimming by, Brie.
Why go out at night when you can go in the daytime?
That's right.
Says Jimbo. Love him.
Says.
All right. Wahoo CCA Florida Star Competition presented by Yamaha is over, and now comes the celebration. Nearly $500,000 in prizes and scholarships will be awarded on October 9th during the Star Awards ceremony presented by Discover Crystal River. Everyone's invited to join some of the Fiffer crew to enjoy a night of celebration, dinner, drinks, live entertainment, and of course conservation. It's a sold-out event every year, so get your tickets now. Tickets are only $55, and you have to go to the Star website, ccaflstar.com, for more details. That sounds like a blast.
I know.
All
I
right.
hope I'm there.
You're going there?
I might be there.
Better be there. All right, the reports are on fire so far. And if you're fishing in the Bell's Central East or Alto Equipment Keys region this weekend, you're in luck. Plus, we will announce the 2 winners that will be fishing with Rick thanks to Florida Coast Equipment. And it could be you. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Total Boat Control. Berkeley, your fish, our science. Bahio, fresh eyes for a rich life. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventure. R&R Tackle, from our tackle box to yours. Florida Coast Equipment, Florida's largest Kubota dealer. Visit one of our 4 locations or online at floridacoasteq.com. And Garmin, plot your paradise.
So hey guys, as you can tell here, I'm sitting with the new Pathfinder 27 center console, and it's been paired up with the new Yamaha 300. Now understand that this 300 is still the same reliable 4.2 liter block, the one that was introduced back in 2008. So you're gonna have all the bulletproof parts of what made this engine so successful for Yamaha. Now, some of the improvements that we have is certainly we have a new cowling, much cleaner design, and we also have the ability to have the fully integrated steering system that we have on the XTO. Now, for you guys that are thinking about repowering, this can be an add-on if you so desire. Now, as we work further down into the motor, we also have a new exhaust system on the lower unit. And what essentially happens here, taking the same technology that we learned from XTO, is until this motor turns 2,500 RPMs or more, the exhaust will come out of here instead of coming out of the hub. The reason why this is important, when you're in reverse, what it simply does is it doesn't create bubbles that you're going to back through, which is not good for the reverse mode. So this is a lot more efficient. Now in the trim range, we have this new trim button where we can simply hit the trim up, and when I wait to hear it for the beep, it'll trim to the top part of the range for me. So it makes trimming up the engines, especially in a multi-engine application, when you have 3 or 4 motors on the back of a boat, you can trim them all up at one time by just simply hitting one of those trim buttons. The other thing that comes to mind is that now this comes in 2 colors, Yamaha gray and also this pearlescent white, and the shaft links that are available are 25-inch, 30-inch, and 35-inch. So if you have any questions about the new Yamaha F300, you can go to YamahaOutboards.com. If you knew how many hours of my life I've spent pushing a trim button up to put a motor toter under it, the trailer at home.
Yeah.
Now,
Tough life.
power tilt, toot toot, and now it's all the way up, toot toot, and all the way down. 2 little taps, and it does it for you.
Toot toot.
Toot toot.
All right, let's jump right into the real. I missed you. We're gonna jump right into the Real Legends Central East region and see what the weekend is bringing us. Thanks for filling in for me last weekend, Jim. You did a great job. I loved the boys' week theme. It was great.
Yeah. We tried our best, Brie. I tell you though, you're looking fantastic. It doesn't look like you just had a baby a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. I mean, you look really great right now.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. I just hope that I didn't mess things up too much, that you had to come back in and straighten everything out.
No, you didn't. You were great. We loved you.
But the Wahoo in my region are really good right now. We've had really decent Wahoo action because we had a hurricane that went by out in the far Atlantic, and it brought some cooler water, some cooler temperatures, and some different flow. And Larry is going by as we speak and throwing those same type of waves our way. Now, here's what you guys and gals are going to want to look for. It's going to muddy, all that groundswell is going to muddy the water up inside of probably about 120 to 140 feet. It's not going to be nearly as pretty as it has been this past week. Look for those defining edges, those rips. Look for those color changes. especially at the western side of the Gulf Stream, which has been extremely close. It's only been like 26 to 27 miles out of Port Canaveral. It's only been like 22 out of Sebastian, and of course a little farther out of Ponce. But those edges are going to be key places you're going to find wahoo feeding when you're pulling those high-speed lures. Our average wahoo is running about 20 to 25 pounds on the low end and about 60 pounds on the high end, but there's always room. There's always a spot for that kicker to spread and eat one of those baits. So be ready, because we can get some big wahoos into the 80-pound class here in our Central East region. Now, our other species offshore is a cousin to the wahoo, the king mackerel. And once again, this species is making my weekly report. Anglers are getting some really big king mackerel right now. The smokers are following the schools of small bonita, and they're starting to move in on the beach a little bit more because the mullet run is starting in my region. So the 40 to 70 foot depths have been really strong, but I expect that they may move back in even as shallow as 15 or 20 feet around the Falls Cape, Playa Linda Beach, Bethune Beach, places like that where that mullet run is starting to get good and heavy. So look for those fish. Now, you want to use a number 4 treble hook, or even, you know, with these bigger fish and some of these bigger baits, these mullet, you can go up to a number 2 or even a number 1 front hook, treble hook, 4X strong, and then use a number 2 trailer. And I always like to step my wire up this time of the year. Instead of using 3, I'll go to 4 or 5 number pound wire, and then in my single strand wire. In my multi-strand wire, I like to go from 60. Sometimes I'll jump up to 90 pound, because the fish that are feeding on mullet and feeding on bonitas are feeding on really fast moving bait fish, and they are attacking at a really, really rapid rate of speed. They're not necessarily looking at the rig as much as they're looking at the bait. And so you can get away using a little bit heavier wire, even as much as that 90 pound on some of those beefier rigs. Our average king mackerel is running 20 pounds, and I've got a picture here. This is a pair of king mackerel, from a pair of king mackerel that my son Justin had just the other day, and he was in about 45 feet of water pulling around those bonita pods.
Nice.
Now, swinging inshore, our tarpon action still remains really strong in the Ponce and Canaveral areas. Captain Mike Mann up at Fat Fish Guide Service out of New Smyrna, he's reporting really good numbers of tarpon in the backwaters. They're chasing croakers, they're chasing mullet. Most of those fish are running 50 to 100 pounds right now. You can also find them along the beaches. They're chasing the bait fish, those mullet pods, and they're also chasing the pogey pods down to the south off of Indian Harbor Beach, India Atlantic, and even down to Floridana Beach. You can find them on those pogey pods. Most of our tarpon, like I said, are running about 50 up to about 100 pounds. We don't have any really, really big ones right now, but that's going to happen a little later in the fall. We'll start getting those bigger fish to come back through. Got a picture here of one that we caught the other day. Jason, first timer out after the tarpon. This is a fish that we put in the air 7 times and then got him up to the boat side. That's your average, 45, 50 pound fish on the small side. But they're all good ones, no matter what kind of tarpon you catch. All tarpon are good fish. And then my last species is flounder. With that mullet run that's beginning, and Tommy's region is probably seeing it much better than my region, that northeast region that starts there and works towards us. But our flounder bite is picking up, especially around Ponce Inlet. Those rock piles, the jetties, even inside around the oyster bars, the reefs, rocky ledges that are inside of the inlet. Those fish are feeding on finger mullet pretty strong right now. We're getting a few down at Canaveral, and it's only a matter of time before we start picking them up at Sebastian Inlet as well. So as those fingerling runs, as that fingerling run gets stronger, look for these fish to move off of those offshore reefs to our inshore waters, and you're going to start catching a lot more flatfish. Got one here that we got the other day with my buddy Carl. He's hopefully not regretting the fact that he let me take that one home and actually eat it, because it was delicious.
I love seeing the caddy can in the background there, bud.
I'll tell you what, that thing, it stays on my boat. I love it. It's so handy to just put all your used drink containers, all your extra fishing line, things like that you don't want blowing all around. Balloons, we pick up balloons all over the ocean right now. And of course, you go and pick those things up and you can just shove it right in that caddy can, dump it out when you get back to the dock. Love that thing.
All right, well, thank you so much. We got to get to trolling all over the ocean, so we're going to go ahead and check out the Rodan Marine Systems hotspots from the Central East region. He says inshore, Black Drum near Haulover Canal. Use cut crab on a jig head or a knocker rig as bait. And then offshore, the Smoker King mackerels in the near coastal waters. Slow troll with live mullet, pogies, and pilchards to fish up to 40 pounds like he had in his picture there.
All right, Rick. Well, we're always looking pretty darn good in our Real Legends gear, and the free line shirts.
I know you are.
I know you is too.
Did you just have a baby?
I think so.
Where'd you put that baby?
I feel like I'm in a time warp. I don't know. He's at home, I'm pretty sure.
I can't believe you don't even look like you had a baby.
All right, well, the free line shirts, ladies and gents, are where it's at. Moisture wicking, UPF sun protection, quick dry, and bright, beautiful colors. What more could you want out of a performance shirt, Rick?
I couldn't ask for anything.
Not much. All right, shop the vast assortment of free line at reallegends.com. And the Alto Equipment Keys region is calling our name, so let's get Captain Randy Tao on the line to help us with our Wahoo game. Go for it, Randy.
Hey, good evening, fish fans. You know, here in the Alta Equipment region, we catch Wahoos this time of year, mostly offshore, especially under floating debris, or if you've got a current edge out in the blue water. But our prime time is in the late fall and the winter months, where we target Wahoos, especially off the edge of the reef, 120 to 200 feet. So there's a lot of ways you can go about Wahoo fishing. Probably the most popular is high-speed trolling, and guys do plenty of that down here. And also live baiting. We have a bait in the Keys called a Speedo, and that is certainly one of the favorite baits to get a Wahoo, and especially a bigger one using a live Speedo slow trolling. You can also put them in the kite on those windy days. They're a pretty big bait, so you got to have some wind to hold them up in the kite, but they love them that way. And it's something that we catch them in the Upper Keys all the way to Key West and the Tortugas during that time. Now, right now, offshore, when the guys are dolphin fishing, if you find that piece of debris, you always want to check it out, troll a bait deep past it a couple of times, or drop a live bait on top of it. Just pull right up next to it, drop a bait down. You never know. These Wahoos are usually sitting under there. They could be under 5 feet, could be 50 feet. You never know, but you definitely want to take advantage of it. I was talking to Captain Chris Trossett with Real Fly Charters out of Key West. He does a lot of that, and he found a piece of floating debris the other day, actually, when he was catching dolphin, and he sent me this picture of his happy anglers with their Wahoo.
They look
cool.
Very happy.
Nice.
You know, the dolphin bite is still going on pretty strong. I'm thinking we're going to stop talking about dolphin, but I'll tell you what, they're still around. Guys are finding them in 400 feet, all the way to 700 or 800 feet. It just depends if you're fishing at a Key Largo, Islamorada, Marathon, Key West. You know, there's different depths and different conditions that every one of these areas are going to have. But all the same story about birds. Birds are key. Find those working birds, not a bird flying that looks like NASCAR, but one that's going up and down, several, maybe 3 or 4 together, 5 birds. That's really what you're looking for, and they're going to be on a pack of dolphin for sure. And you want to get lined up with them. And, you know, the biggest thing, too, is being prepared, having your rods rigged, having everything ready to go, because you don't have time to do much of anything. It's hard enough to put a bait on when you get in that moment. So you really want to be ready to take advantage of anything you see when you get in that situation. And sometimes those schoolie dolphins might have a 30 or 40 pounder that'll swim right up to the boat while you're doing that. So definitely pay attention to your surroundings when you're in the dolphin catching little ones. You never know. There might be a bigger one. I got this photo from the past weekend. These guys were off at Carey Sport in 600 feet of water using pilchards, and Brandon Brendel and his buddies caught this 30-pounder.
Nice.
I'll take it.
All right, let's go inshore, bub.
You know, the snook fishing still pretty steady. You know, a lot of guys are snook fishing right now, and it's something that, depending on your type of fishing, if you're a shallow water guy or if you're a live bait guy fishing out of a bay boat or a bigger boat along the beaches or the channels, they're biting. Current is really important. That moving water really helps. I can tell you the last couple of days I've been in a situation where the water wasn't moving very well, and I came back a few hours later and we caught them. So you want to pay attention to your tide, your water moving. It doesn't matter sometimes incoming or outgoing, but you want the water moving. That seems to be the trick right now. Live bait like finger mullet, they're starting to show up in the back along the beaches, and also the pinfish is my favorite. And I've got a photo of Cindy from Pensacola with her snook she caught the other day.
Nice. All right, what else you got?
Oh, the slimy bonefish. You know, I've talked about those things a lot lately, and it's a love-hate deal. And unless you've been bone fishing, you won't understand what I'm talking about. But they've been very plentiful around Alamorada and also the Lower Keys right now. The past couple of weeks, guys are really getting into some good numbers and having a lot of shots. Now, it's a lot of fun, and it's frustrating. That kind of goes together. But, you know, the bonefish show up this time of year in pretty good numbers, and it might last for a month. It might last for a week. But guys are getting some really good shots. But the key right now is they don't tail like they used to, get up on top of the flats in the shallow water. So they're a little bit deeper. 2 to 3 feet of water is where you want to be looking. If you've got good sunlight, that's really helpful to see these fish in the water moving. And if you've got a live shrimp, or if you have a jig tip with a shrimp, you're probably going to get a bite if you throw it out in front of them. And I've got a photo from Ted Benbow with Skins and Fins Charters out of Alamorada, breaking in one of his new Randy towel rods with his angler, catching a nice bonefish on a jig.
All right, thank you so much there, Mr. Randy. And we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Florida Keys. He says inshore bonefish, find the moving water and look along the edges of the flats in 2 to 3 feet of water for the bonefish mudding and swimming. And then good sunlight obviously is gonna be very helpful to see the fish in the water. And then offshore, dolphin. Start looking at 400 feet on out and any of the floating debris. Be patient if you find a nice piece of debris. The dolphin will swim back to it.
All right, we're checking in with the StarTron Central West region, but first we're seeing what gadgets and things Dave has for us at the Taco Marine new products at the CCA Workbench.
It's a diaper for your caddy cam.
What?
Yeah,
Please don't
you
talk
heard me.
about diapers. Really?
You got plenty to know.
Wait.
We'll be back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there. Penn, let the battle begin. Alta Equipment Company, where uptime matters. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Discover Crystal River, Florida. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin. Best lures, period. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
Well, here we are at the CCA Workbench and Taco Marine's trolling the edge. And Dave, speaking of going down the edge,
we're going to talk about my turtle box.
No, it is not your turtle box. Let's be clear.
Everybody wants the turtle box, but
Yep.
well, you know, it's a very loud and rugged waterproof box that you can, you know, a speaker system that you can take along and go fishing. It's made for the guys who fish outdoors. You know, I've bought hundreds of them. Well,
Right.
not hundreds, but a lot. I bought a lot of them. I've owned quite a few of little Bluetooth speakers, and the main problem with most of them is they're just not loud enough. And
You can't hear them when the boats, when you're on plane running.
This thing gets loud, really loud.
Look at Brie over there moving. Dang.
Yeah, really, really loud. So, you know, you can hear that thing, like you said, when you're running or you put it on the beach, you know, and, you know, the waves are crashing. It's got a frequency that's designed to travel far and break through outdoor noises. I mean, that's what the part of the deal is with the turtle box. So that frequency curve, you get 20 hours of regular play. If you put it on max, you still get 6 hours, which you'd be tired of it because you'd be blowing your ears out. 85 watt hours, you know, built in there, and it's connects to 2 Bluetooths at a time.
Right.
It's got all little charging stations on there, USB and other ones that you can charge your stuff in there. 5-step battery indicator on the side, tie downs on the side so you can actually tie it down to the boat.
Waterproof.
Yeah, completely waterproof, yeah, and sandproof, so you can do a million things. But it comes with a nice charger as well.
Their tagline is that they're the clearest, loudest portable unit made.
Correct, and I agree. I think
Where do we go?
They're right.
Turtle box?
Turtlebox.com.
All right, we know
Next,
what these are.
Yep, these are the really cool Alvey Junior Angler Glow combos. These are really cool little reels made perfectly for kids. You can't tear them up, you know, sand or salt water. They'll just last forever. They got these ones glow in the dark.
Yeah.
You can put them out in the sun for
Somebody
2 hours.
turn the lights off. No,
Put them out in the sun for 2 hours, and then they'll last for 6 to 8 hours. Glowing.
Dark.
Yeah, glowing. So they got blue and yellow and red rods there. They're 2-piece solid fiberglass.
Yeah.
So you really can't tear them apart. They're made for the kids and that salty environment. So, Alvey, and plus it's left or right hand retrieve, if you have a kid
depending on which way you want to load it up.
Even if if your preference either way, you can turn it around. So
all right.
Go to alveus.com and get some of those for your children.
All right.
Next, we got the caddy can waterproof. Yeah, this is a Piva sleeve that goes inside the caddy can.
Oh, it goes in your caddy can.
Yeah.
A new waterproof.
Exactly. It's a non-chlorinated vinyl. It's waterproof. It's light fit and durable. It goes inside your can, and you can wash it out real quickly and do all kinds of cool stuff with it. It cleans up our breeze. And just hang on just for a second.
Hanging up for a second?
You have to hang on for a second because I forgot to bring our next
our
product
stiffy
out.
push poles.
Correct. Go get the caddycam.com.
Only in a live TV show
Exactly.
could you do that.
Hey,
Caddycan.com.
I was talking about the caddy cans thinking, oh boy, that stiffy stuff ain't here yet.
Stiffy.
So next we got some stiffy
Stiffy's here all the
fiberglass
time.
poles after you get your PVC thing for your caddy cam done.
Yeah.
Get your stiffy fiberglass poles. They're 6.7 ounces per foot.
Right.
Comes with almost indestructible again. Got the glass-filled nylon on the ends and the E-glass all the way through. So
This is the E-glass one, come with the nylon tip.
Correct.
A lot more durable than a graphite. It won't crack. You can stake out with these. Obviously, they're going to bend a lot more because the graphite certainly makes them stiffer, but...
And they float.
Absolutely.
Everyone's handmade, and they can custom make them as well for you.
Yeah.
So.
And what I love is that Stiffy makes a push pole for anybody's budget.
Right, and multi-piece. You can make, like I said, you can make an 18-foot to 24-foot. You can, whatever you want, they'll make it for you.
Where are we going with this?
StiffyPushPoles.com. I'm glad I didn't forget them.
All right, I'm glad
I did
you didn't.
forget.
You did forget them, Dave.
But you recovered.
But
He
you
recovered.
I had to make a run.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
Round of applause. All right, Captain Jeff Page always has something wonderful for us, so let's see what the Startron Central West region has up its sleeve this week. Give us something wonderful, Page.
Now, you got it. First of all, you're wonderful. Wonder Woman don't have nothing on you, Miss Brie.
Thanks, Paige. You're awesome. What do you want? Just kidding.
All right.
Let's get to the report.
Wahoo can be found in our Startron Central West region in about 120 feet of water on out. What you're going to want to do, you're going to want to focus on temperature breaks, current changes, floating debris, and always keep an eye out for birds and porpoise. You can high-speed troll them up to 20 knots. It's recommended anywhere between 7 and 12. And if you want to slow troll lip plugs, you want to do that around 6 to 10 knots. Ballyhoo, same way with skirt. Now, if you're anchored or drifting, you always want to have a flat line out with a live bait and a short piece of wire. We get them year-round, but the best time is May through August, and then November through January. And the average wahoo in our region is 30 to 60 pounds. And I have a photo tonight of that 50, 60 pounder caught by Captain Tim No, Offshore Ventures.
Nice.
And offshore gag grouper that remains really strong, Rick. Not only offshore, but guys are catching 26, 28, even 30 inches inshore. But the offshore bites, what I'm reporting on, they're getting fish up to 15, 20 pounds, caught daily by captains like Jason Stock, Tim No again, and then down in Stump Pass, Kalen Olander out of Flying Hawaiian out of Stump Pass Marina. They've all been fishing 110 feet of water with a mixture of live pinfish as well as frozen sardines. And I got a gag photo tonight of a happy client, again with Captain Tim No, Offshore Ventures. Moving inshore, redfish. Again, it just keeps getting better and better. And this week has been phenomenal. Even with all the boats out on Labor Day weekend, guys, we're catching redfish throughout the entire region, Rick. Waders, weekend warriors, and then, of course, all your guides. And it's been better once that tide gets coming in. When you get that good incoming tide, the fish are going to push up on the bars. Long bar's been really good. And then down in Charlotte Harbor, the Turtle Bay bar, and then over on the east side's been just as good. And what we've been doing is fishing thin fish under a cork. We're just using that 1/4 ounce Johnson Gold spoon and reel it right steady through the water. Don't change your speed. Little trick a guy from Homestead taught me once. And fish have been averaging up to 32 inches. Smaller fish around docks with shrimp on a jig head. And I've got a really nice redfish photo tonight of longtime friend, Sarasota native Gene Rusty Driver.
Nice. All right, tell us about the
And my
poons.
Last one, tarpon. You've been seeing the same thing, Rick. I know you have. On those calm mornings, up on those grass flats where the small bait is, those little red-headed minnows, those tarpons are blooping everywhere. And if you're patient, I've been doing real well with that shallow running lip plug called the cutter. And I just been steady reeling it, almost like a spoon, through the tarpon, and they've been latching onto it. And they've also been hitting the bone pattern 100 jaywalker. If it's into using live shrimp, the shrimp under a cork as well as a pilchard under a cork, because it's keeping that bait out of the grass. Anyway, Brie, once again, congratulations. Everybody have a good weekend.
Paige, don't go anywhere. I got a question for you. You know, we did actually get an email the other day, and somebody was asking about the red tide down south in Venice. What do you know about it?
Venice, south to Gasparilla Pass, still lots of patches. But Venice north, really cleaning up nice. And I believe that hurricane passing by sucked some of that bad water out of here.
All right. So the fish basically are where the red tide isn't. Is that correct? Is that safe to say?
That's correct. The problem with Venice is it's a small body of water. You get down Gasparilla way, it's a big body of water. So that really helps having all that water to cover it. You know how big that harbor is.
And that explains why the fishing in Sarasota Bay is so good. All right, Bud, thanks for clearing that up for us. And I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the Daiquiri Deck hotspots in the Central West region. He says redfish school up all over the flats from the mouth of the Manatee River south to Turtle Bay Bar. Try throwing a 1/2 ounce gold spoon or a pinfish under a cork. And then offshore, mangrove snappers holding on the structure and ledges in 65 to 85 feet of water. Use live or fresh chunks of pilchards on a 1/0 to a 2/0 light wire Eagle Claw circle hook, Brie.
Well, folks, here we are in September already, and we only have a few weeks before this beautiful 1952 Chevy 3100 hot rod finds a new home. All you have to do is purchase raffle tickets at ccaflorida.org/hot rod. The winner will be chosen at the end of the month, so good luck on that. Rick?
Good.
You're going to be standing by your little truck over
All
there.
right. Bye, Tri Truck.
All right, the Bell's Southwest and Fish Bites East region captains are flashing their toothy grins at us next, so stay tuned for those reports. And remember to keep up with everything fishing in Florida. Make sure to head on over to our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and to see new fishing adventures along with reports, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Captain Rick Murphy. See you soon.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by StarTron, cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. Alvey Reels, a better way to fish. Berkeley, your fish, our science. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 35 years. Diamond Fishing Products, our reputation is on the line. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Strike Zone Fishing.
Welcome back, everyone. The Real Legend Southwest region is now up, and Captain Ronnie Houston has your tips and tricks for some inshore and offshore weekend fun. So let's hear it, Ronnie.
Well, you know, it's always a pleasure representing the Real Legend Southwest region. You know, the Wahoo in my region, typically the Wahoo like to hang out around structure. It could be weed line, it could be floating debris, it could be reefs or wrecks. Now, one thing in common about these, all these structures hold bait fish that Wahoo like to feed upon. One way to locate them would be to load up with baits like thread fins, pilchards, and cigar minnows and chum some of the areas I just mentioned, but also having blue runners handy just in case a wahoo does come into the live chum. I strongly recommend 7 to number 9 wire. Bonita and tuna schools will also hold scattered fish. And one of the techniques to wahoo fishing is getting your baits down below the surface, whether it's using a downrigger, a planer, trolling lead, or a wire line. 4 foot below will make a big difference, but 15 to 30 foot will improve the number of bites. And while trolling skirts, you can also use big plugs. Particular colors are going to be, and the most common are going to be the red and black, blue and pink, or the black and purple seem to be the most common. Now on the inshore side still, the permit. Now one thing that's been going on for the last month, there seems to be a lot of pass crabs floating around offshore. So a good tip for you is if you can't get crabs at your local tackle shop, you shouldn't have no problem to see some of these crabs floating on the offshore side, so make sure you have a net on board. But right now most towers, wrecks, and artificial reefs through the region from Marco to Boca Grande are still holding fish. Just depends how pressured they are and how early you get out before somebody pressures some of these areas. Drifting across the structure, anchoring up, or particularly using the anchor mode on the trolling motor seems to be a lot easier nowadays to chase a fish once hooked up. Permit fishing has been great all year. It's been one of the better years, but I strongly recommend getting out there with moderate weather, and you're going to have patience, and that's going to be the key. And I got a prime example of a nice permit that's caught in the southern ends of the region. And mentoring the anchor mode, you know, back in about a month back at ICAST, Rodan introduced their newly upgraded trolling motor. It's got a thicker shaft, it's got a newer collar, and the release is probably about the best I've seen out there. So if you can't get a trolling motor, things are tough right now with electronics. I've been running one of these since January. I have had 0 issues. So if you can't get a trolling motor, give those guys at Rodan a call, talk to Sean, and tell them Florida Insider sent you. Now on the inshore side, the snook. Now with the opening of snook season, Gordon Pass, South Indian Key, you want to concentrate on the passes, the outer Gulf Islands, and the residential docks and seawalls are all holding good numbers. Now, in the residential docks and seawalls, it's been a good nighttime bite. Tide really doesn't matter. All you want to make sure is you've got some good current and fish in the stronger parts of the tide. In those areas, soft plastic shrimp and paddle tails like the bass assassin, root beer, and root beer and glow. Good moving water in the passes, live herring, pilchards, and foreign swim baits. And on the outer Gulf Islands, you want to use pilchards, cut baits on the bottom, top water walk the dog lures like the Berkeley hijackers and jaywalkers. Pilchards still been my favorite color. It's been working great for me. You can also use a variety of half-ounce gold spoon and 4-inch paddle tails on the jig head. Colors in particular are white, root beer, and new penny due to the stained water. I have a picture of a nice oversized snook caught down in the southern end of the region. Last species is going to be the redfish. Right now, the whole region has been impressive. Estero Bay, along the east wall, particularly on the higher stages of the tide up along the mangrove. In those areas, cut ladyfish on the bottom, along with live pilchards chummed up and working. Now further to the north, the east wall from Alligator Creek to Burnt Store Bar points to the independent islands with current. And down to the south, Pavilion Key to Lossman's River, strongly recommend the higher tides. Cut baits along the mangroves, particularly on knocker rigs. Live pilchards along Oyster Bar points as well as Oyster Bar shorelines. And then also fan casting top water walk the dog lures, half-ounce gold spoons, and 4-inch soft plastic shrimp and paddle tails on a jig head, root beer, golden brim, and new penny to the stained water. And have a nice picture of an oversized redfish caught down the southern end of the region. September 18th is coming up for our annual Take a Soldier Fishing. It'll be held at Hamilton Harbor. So save the date. It's in a couple weeks. Get down and support your troops down at Hamilton Harbor and watch the weigh-in.
Thank you so much, Ronnie. Very thorough tonight. I appreciate all your effort. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Catty Can hotspots from the southwest region. He says inshore, trout, Pavilion Key to Lossman's River in the depths of 2 to 4 feet of water, fishing bait schools and diving birds, and then offshore, mangrove snappers, towers, wrecks, and artificial reefs, Marco to Fort Myers Beach, chumming and dropping back small cut bait.
Oh, that was the best tournament.
I
had so much fun. Maybe not this year fishing it, but maybe next year.
You guys wrecked them.
We did. We wrecked them on the back. We did. It was fun. All right, if you want to target wahoo in the Fish Bites East region, you're going to have to get low. So, Captain Mike Holliday, why don't you tell us how low? Go for it.
Well, you know, Ronnie kind of gave you half of the tip. You got to get below the surface, or you can speed up your troll. Those are going to be the two big keys for targeting wahoo. To get the bait down, you can use a downrigger, a planer, a trolling weight, or even just heavily weighted skirts. And the wahoo bite definitely ramps up 4 or 5 days on either side of the full moon in my region. A lot of anglers will be on the water before dawn. during that time in high-speed troll till about 8:30 in the morning. Then they're back in and head to work. They go for that dawn bite. You'll catch wahoo in 100 feet of water or more, but off Palm Beach County, it seems like the wahoo bite is consistent, more in that 200 to 400 feet of water range, while off Martin and St. Lucie counties, it's more like 120 to 180 feet of water over that natural Oculina reef that stretches that whole way all the way up to Sebastian, and including an area called the Steeples. Target them with a double hook ballyhoo or a double hook mullet with a red and black or a pink and black skirt. You can also slow troll a large live blue runner or a mullet on number 8 wire with a double hook stinger rig. Average wahoo in my region is going to be 20 to 40 pounds, but we get fish to 80 pounds or more pretty commonly. Excuse me, I got a photo there. That's Keith Grandchamp, Captain Keith Grandchamp of Fort Pierce. He caught that nice wahoo out of Fort Pierce in 160 feet of water on a live blue runner. The other bite offshore going on, that swell that pushed in from Hurricane Larry, really didn't materialize much, but it did get rid of that south current we had, and it murked up the water on the reef. And that's fired up the mangrove snapper bite in both Martin and St. Lucie County. So places like the 6 Mile Reef, the Sand Pile, the 65-foot Ledge, and Bethel Shoals are all producing good numbers of mangroves right now. The key is to find a spot with a light north current and not a lot of barracuda around. The barracuda's been pretty bad in eating your snapper before you can get them to the surface. Anchor up, put out a chum bag, supplement it with glass minnows or juvenile pilchards. Give it 10 or 15 minutes for the fish to respond to the chum. Then drop down anything from, a pilchard or a threadfin to a finger mullet or a sand perch or even just a jig with a strip of fish bites on it. Fish those baits on a 4-0 circle hook to a half-ounce jig head. It seems like the larger fish are being caught at night, and the average mangrove snapper is like 2 to 4 pounds, but there's fish to 9 pounds in the mix right now.
Let's go inshore, bub.
Well, the first week of snook season started off really strong. Good catches of snook at the Juneau Pier, the Stewart and Jensen Beach Causeways, South Jetty and Fort Pierce, and even up in Vero Beach on the causeway there. There's a lot of snook in the surf in places like Hope Sound Wildlife Refuge, Hope Sound Public Beach has fish, Bob Graham Beach and Jensen Beach, South Beach and Fort Pierce are all seeing good numbers of snook still in the surf. And we're starting to see that first push of mullet into the area. So the fish are starting to switch over from chasing whitebait out on the beach to feeding on the mullet schools. You want to start your day working the shorelines and the seawalls. You want to throw topwater plug or a saltwater assassin dye dapper in the mullet colors, and then switch over to a live mullet on a 4-0 trocar circle hook. Around the bridges at night, big swimming plugs and turbo shads in that green hornet or black shad color is working really well on the snook. A lot of fish will also be caught on live mullet. Average snook right now is like 8 to 20 pounds, and I have a nice photo. That's Alex, the king of the Juneau Pier. He caught that spot fish on the pier, and that fish ate a live pilchard.
Wow, that's a nice fish for a pier. Good job, Alex. Tell me
sorry.
about the poons, bub.
Yeah, we've got 2 good bait concentrations going on right now. That's got the tarpon starting to stack up at the inlets and also at the bridges. At the inlets, the fish are feeding on the mullet schools that are pushing down the beach. The best bites are taking place at dawn and dusk on the north side of the inlets as the fish are pushed up against the rocks, and then inside the inlets after dark on the outgoing tides. Target those fish with a live mullet on a 7-0 trocar circle hook and 60 to 80 pound fluorocarbon leader, and just float that mullet out with the tide and hang on. A lot of big fish in the inlets right now. And then the bridge bite, there's all these juvenile pilchards and sardines that are holding in the shadows of the bridges at South Bridge and Fort Pierce, and at the Jensen and Jensen Beach and Stewart Causeways. You throw a swimming plug or a live mullet down the shadow line. When the crabs are running, you can fish a live crab. But really, the working the shadow lines with artificials is going to be the way to go. Average tarpon in my region right now on the bridges is like 40 to 80 pounds.
All right, give us a bass report, bub.
Well, we've had a few cool mornings lately. That's fired up the bass bite on the south end of Lake Okeechobee, and it's also made the shad bite last a little later into the morning, up until about 9 o'clock right now. You still want to be on the water in the dark, looking for busting fish or diving gulls. You want to work the grass lines near the water tower on the west end of the lake, or the cuts in the Clewiston Channel, or also out in front of Ritta Island. The shad are getting a little larger, so you want to throw a little bigger bait like Bass Assassin Vapor Shad or an Elite Shiner. You can put a 3/8 ounce jig head on it just to get it down, make it swim through the grass a little better. All white spinnerbait will work good. A top water plug, really anything that looks like a bait fish and that pushes water is going to work good. And then once that shad bite slows down, it's time to switch over to fishing a June bug colored 8 to 12 inch worm, a bigger worm, rig Texas style, work the outside grass lines, or you can fish the isolated cattails, looking for that big fish bite. And then a live shiner, that bite's going to pretty much be consistent all day long, but you have to move around a lot. It's a 20 fish morning on Okeechobee right now with bass to 7 pounds. One last mention, there's still tickets available for the CCA Luau in Jensen Beach on Friday, September 17th. You can purchase your tickets online at ccaflorida.org.
All right, Hollywood, thank you so much. Good report. Looking forward to talking to you more about some sail fishing in a few weeks. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the T&H marine hotspots from the East region. He says Inshore Snook and Tarpon at the 25-cent bridge in Stewart. Live mullet, crabs, or Houdini color sea shads are working best. And then offshore, muttons, mangroves, yellowtail snappers in 90 to 105 feet of water off of Juneau Pier. Use live dead sardines or maybe a cigar minnow as baits. Boy, that was overload on that offshore one for me. There's lots of my favorites.
There was. You couldn't help yourself.
Snappers and minnows.
Well, we've got one more region to fish, so stay tuned for the Discover Crystal River Northwest region. Plus, we are announcing the 2 wieners that will be fishing with Reek, thanks to Florida Coast Equipment. So don't go anywhere. Look, you've got my accents all fired up and ready to go.
Glad to have you back.
Done.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. The Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. The IGFA. Fish for the World. Noble Air Charters. Raising the bar yet again. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy. Fishing for adventure. Real legends. Everything you need to live life local. And Taco Marine. Troll the edge.
Today's Power Pole tip is about how I really love how the charge really helps me extend my day of fishing. Now let me explain. When we're running up and down the beach chasing schools of tarpon, or maybe on a spot lock in a channel situation, we're really using a lot of voltage out of our trolling motors. Now, when I hook a fish and I simply jump down and turn that switch and start the big motor, now I immediately start replenishing my trolling motor battery voltage. That's what the charge does. I also have the ability to monitor exactly what's going on with those batteries. And in Florida, when we have 14-hour days, this could really extend your whole day of fishing. So keep in mind that whenever you're fishing and you need to recharge your trolling motor system, all you have to do is simply turn the key on, and now you have the ability to recharge your trolling motor system. If you have any questions, you can go to powerpole.com, and that's today's Power Pole tip.
Thanks for that tip, Rick.
You're welcome.
All right, you're gonna have to put in some work in the Discover Crystal River Northwest region if Wahoo is on your mind. So let's get Captain Jeff Hageman and see what we're gonna have to do and what else is biting for the weekend. Tell us, Hag.
Great to have you back.
Thanks, buddy.
Wahoo, we do have them, but you're going to make a run to go get them. You got to get out at least past 400 feet. Start looking for frigate birds. Everything the guys were talking about all works. Fast trolling, 12 to 17 knots with tremblers, door knockers, sea witches. You want to use anywhere from 15 to 20 ounces of lead, depending on how much speed you're doing. And with the trolling weight in front of them. Best colors in our area are purple and black, red and black. And another tip is look at your sea temp before you leave, or if you've got Cyrus and you got the weather, it'll show it right on it. Look for that sea temp difference, and that's usually we're going to find bait, and that's where you're also going to find those wahoo. Staying offshore, Captain Rob Davenport of Big Nasty Charters out of St. Pete reports a good red grouper bite right now, anywhere from 150 to 200 feet of water. Threadfin herrings or sardines tipped with squid are been the bait of choice. Live bait's also been working very well. 60 to 80 pound fluorocarbon leader, 6 to 8 aught
trocar circle hook and 6 to 8 ounces of lead's working best. And I've got a picture below with a great red grouper.
Dang.
Nice.
Moving on inshore and going all the way up to the other end of my region, Captain John Lane, JB Charters, out of Apalachicola reports the bull redfish bite has been really good right now outside the beach. He's using live shrimp or live croakers, and he's been rigging them on with 3/4 to an ounce of lead with about 2 foot leader and a 3/0 trocar circle hook, and he's mainly fishing the shoal drop-offs. And I've got a photo here of a great Apalachicola redfish. It's a good one right there.
Yeah, man. Nice. All right, tell us about the snooks.
Snook bite in the lower half of the region remains strong. You want to fish the outer bars and beaches, passes, mangrove points, both on the incoming, outgoing tides. The stronger parts of the tides have been doing the best. Grass grunts, pinfish, sardines are all been working really well, either free-lined or lightly weighted. As far as artificial goes, it's hard to beat a white jerk shad with a 1/4 ounce jig head. And the fish right now are averaging anywhere from 25 to 27 inches with a few big females still out on the beach. And those fish are going to range anywhere from 30 to 40 inches, and they're still being caught quite frequently.
All right, before we go to the hot spots, Bub, I got lots of questions for you. I know that you're working for a private individual, and you guys were down at the fort, and that's why Mike Anderson filled in for you. Why don't you tell us how your fishing was that week?
The dolphin have been relatively small, and so have the tuna. But we caught lots of them. There's a lot of them out there. The storm kind of broke up the tide line a little bit and broke up the weed line. But if you could find birds, and we found birds on the radar, once you got on the birds, you caught plenty of fish. A lot of fish down there. We were out in Marquesas just this weekend. We just got back today from the Marquesas overnighting down there. Plenty of lobster. Came offshore on our way back in, caught a couple nice dolphin on our way back in for dinner, and hit the dock. But it's been good down here. Weather's been beautiful after that storm, and it's supposed to be the rest of the week.
All right, so
out there and go fishing.
Your boss owns a cool bourbon company. Why don't you tell everybody why you like that bourbon so much, as well as the name of it?
It's Horse Soldier Bourbon. Patriot. Unbelievable man. It was one of the original guys into Afghanistan after 9/11, after the towers fell. They were the guys that went in and took care of the Taliban off the get-go. So it's a great story. They make a great bourbon, great guys, and American heroes.
Yeah, man. Awesome. I think it's so cool that the label on the bottles came from a plate of metal that came from the 9/11 site, and it is a cool story. So, guys, it's called Horse Soldier Bourbon. You guys look it up. Tell Coco I sent you. Hag, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Ozella Key Marina hotspots. Thank you for your report. This week, he says that the snook in the beginning and the end of the outgoing tide used pinfish and grunts with a 1 ounce lead drifted in the passes, and then offshore mangrove snappers on the high relief structures use small pinfish and sardines on a knocker rig.
Yeah, I forgot what bourbon tastes like. All right, well, Rick,
I bet you forgot what a lot of stuff tastes like. When was the last time you had sushi?
I don't know. Rick, we have our winners. For the Florida Coast Equipment Fish with Rick contest. Don't you want to know? And we're announcing them right now.
Okay.
All right. Congratulations, Tim W. and Dan B. I know you'll have a blast, and I hope you catch the fish of a lifetime. I know you will, because you're going with Rick.
Well, what's Tim's last name and what's Dan's last name? I know we're not allowed to say that. I'm just playing with you guys.
You're so funny. All right, well, the reports are in and the Wahoo bite is ripe. Stop staring at me for the taking in the next couple of months, but stay with us a little longer, because when we return, we're telling you what's in our sights next week right here on the Florida Insider
Fishing Report. You know why I'm staring at you? Because you called me short at the beginning of the show.
Well, next week, we're talking piers and jetties, so make sure you tune into that one. That'll be super fun.
That's a lot of fun.
I know, it will be. Dave, you're going to be on your A game, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Of course.
Well, guys, it felt
A, B, C, whatever it takes.
so good to be back. You're not going to forget your stiffy this time, right?
Never.
Good.
It's always with me.
Good to know.
Okay, anyways, it's been so good to be back on the show. Thank you guys for all the warm welcomes and the captains. Y'all were great. Guys, go out and catch those Wahoo and have a great, safe weekend. And we'll see you next week for some Pier and Jetty talk.
Bye, guys.
Adios.